Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of On the Range Podcast with Warhog Tactical and Kelley Defense. I am your host, along with my co-host, Rick Hogg. I'm Mark Kelley. Wherever you are, thank you for making this part of your day. And today we have a special show. But we're going to do some housekeeping first. How's it going today, Rick?
Man, Mark, it's going great. I just want to thank the viewers, listeners out there for giving us your most precious commodity, your time to tune in. We got a super show in store for you. But before that, let's just talk a couple things. Hey, do us a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a rating review. All that other good stuff to help On the Range Podcast increase our reach from this terrible AI monster that we're under. While you're out there surfing the interwebs, you might as well hit warhog.com and kellydefense.com. Sign up for those newsletters. Trust me, we will not bombard you because half the time we're behind the power curve. Anyway, don't forget, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/On the Range Podcast. And of course, over on Vimeo, we got OTR Training on Demand. So it's kind of a quick rundown on our housekeeping. You can check out our class schedules on both of those sites as well, because 2023 is starting to fill up. So it's going to be definitely a busy year. But yeah, man, let's just transition right into our guests. So we got Jon Imperial. So Jon is a fellow member of the great Granite State, although I kind of question how great the Granite State is. A motto who's live free or die, but now
live free or die, baby.
Now the mass holes have infiltrated into that great state and turned a beautiful red state into blue. So yeah.
It's one of those weird states that votes a Republican governor, but then Democratic or liberal, everything else.
Makes you question. So, well, let's think about it. The Sununus, right? So I didn't even give you a whole intro. I'm gonna do this real quick. So Jon was a LEO K9 handler in the Army, but yes, you're on it, right? But the key thing with New Hampshire is, let's think about it. The Sununu Power Hour, right? So when I was growing up, and I won't date myself, but Chris's dad, he was the governor, right? And then Chris's brother, who was a couple years ahead of me in high school, he became the governor. Now Chris is the governor, right? So the Sununus, when it comes to gubernatorial leadership up in the state of New Hampshire, they're there. And really what they should have done, live free or die, is put up a big old fence on that southern border and keep them savages from the Commonwealth rolling up, sucking all the goodness out of New Hampshire.
Increasing that tax rate and all that sort of stuff.
Dude, it's just, the whole demographics up there is totally flopped over. And then you got an interesting story because you used to live over in Derry. I was in Salem right next door. So
back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day, man. Back when the state was great and, the mess hole stayed on their side of the border. We stayed on ours because I don't know if you remember, Massachusetts used to have the mandatory 1-year jail sentence for a handgun. So
did they really?
Oh, yeah, dude. There were signs posted. So you want to talk about a border? There were signs posted anytime you're going to cross into the Commonwealth that stayed. It was the mandatory 1-year jail sentence for a handgun. So it's like you're cruising going, oh, I just took the wrong road. I got to whip a Yui, man. I'm going to jail. I'm out of here.
That's insane.
Savages. Yeah, dude. Now I don't know if something changed because I haven't seen the signs. So
I haven't at all. No, I haven't at all. It's a great place to grow up. Like you were saying, I grew up in Londonderry, was dairy cop for a little bit, and then moved up north to the city of Berlin, where I left full time the beginning of last year. But in New Hampshire itself, it's definitely one of those states that the tourism rate, makes its money off the tourism. All the people coming from Mass during COVID. I think they were talking about, shutting down the dealerships, the auto dealerships and all that sort of stuff in Massachusetts. And I think they did for a little bit. And then the governor, Chris Sununu, went on, because the local radio said, are you going to close anything? And he's like, no, why? The people from Mass are coming to buy New Hampshire vehicles and then bring them back. Of course, I'm going to keep all that sort of stuff open. Yep. I miss the freedom of the gun laws of New Hampshire, but thank God for HR 218. And
what? Oh, okay, hold on, man. You got to educate me a little bit, right? What's going on?
For what do you mean?
Just gun laws, right? Because I will tell you, back in the day, right, there were more gun laws about BB guns than there were firearms, right?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
live free or die. What else do you
Yeah.
need to say? Nothing, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I
what,
mean,
what's going on now?
well, I mean, I to be honest, and I haven't done too much research into the Massachusetts laws, only the ones that you know are particular to me because of
Mhm.
HR 218.
Mhm.
Being law enforcement still, it doesn't include me in a lot of laws.
Sure.
But one thing I did like about New Hampshire was recently that the ATF, well, actually, Chris Sununu signed into law that unless New Hampshire law, if it doesn't word for word agree with the federal law when it comes to gun crimes or firearms laws,
Mhm.
if it doesn't word for word match up with New Hampshire law, then New Hampshire law enforcement cannot assist the ATF in an investigation. And I always
Nice.
thought that was pretty good. So if
Yeah.
you
Do
sorry
you-
about if in the background
No.
you might hear my my 4-month-old boy. So
All good, man. Hey,
Oh,
we're a
no,
family.
no,
We're
man.
a family friendly
Roger that.
podcast here, buddy. So yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
thank you,
Well, I
appreciate
tell you what, John, it's been kind of tough getting this all together, man, but we did it.
it. Yeah.
And for those that have been following the On the Range podcast, they may have heard John before.
Yes.
He was talk about the original OG. I think you probably were one of the first people to ever actually speak as a guest on our show. It was an audio show. It was a
Mhm.
call-in deal. It was just
Yep.
audio only. There was no video to it. And John was nice enough to join us. We had a great conversation about some of the stuff we're talking about now, but I can't remember a lot of it, John. No offense.
No,
But
that's fine. Me either. Too many concussions back in the day.
Mhm.
he came on there. He came on there, and you just started your podcast, Pointman podcast. And why don't we go ahead and talk a little bit about that and let us know how that's going, because there was some transition. You said you did make a move and all that.
Yeah. So the podcast itself, when I left and moved from New Hampshire to Mass to where I'm living now, it had to take a back seat. It was one of those things that I didn't have enough time, during that whole transition to continue the podcast. To me, it's probably one of the most cathartic things that I do is sitting down and, a hobby I'm not making any money off of it. I just love talking to people and having a good conversation. It's one of the most cathartic things that I do is just sitting down and talking with people, learning about who they are, where they come from, and what, in my case, interview a lot of either LEO or veterans, and, you know, what it was to get them interested in that career and all that sort of stuff. And then, how they progress throughout their career. And I've had other people on as well that, haven't had anything to do with law enforcement. But yeah, like I said, I started the podcast. It was mainly, 2020 was a weird year. It was, a lot of it was to just fill the fill the time because of
Mhm.
COVID shutting everything down. But at
Yeah.
that same time, I had read on Blue Help that for those of you who don't know, Blue Help is an organization that helps with law enforcement suicide, and they keep statistics on it. And I had read that more officers had died, or excuse me, had died by their own hand as the suicide than in the line of duty in 1 year. And I had a friend kill himself, that was law enforcement, and I've had other guys that I knew that had passed away from suicide. And it was just one of those things that, I had gone through my own struggles with mental health. And when I entered law enforcement in 2010, it was the stigma of, let's not talk about it. You're not going to talk about what happened. You're not going to talk about, I'm not even talking about calls. Obviously, as you guys know, it can be either a slow progression or a fast one, but it's a progression that gets somebody into that dark space mentally. And it was one of those things that just wasn't talked about. I mean, guys, and I use that as a gender neutral term for everybody, guys and girls.
Mhm.
But people wouldn't, talk about their issues. They'd swallow them down a bottle or try to find the resolution at the bottom of the bottle. And it just wasn't, it wasn't talked about enough. In my experience with the leadership, people, if you're a leader and you're out there leading a team, I think it's more beneficial to say, if you have gone to seek counseling, to say that you've gone and done that, because it's, in my eyes, you're a stronger person for having done that. I have
Mhm.
listened to other people talk on podcasts, and Jocko, and I think a lot of people know who he is, but he equates it, and it's a good analogy. I've used it in my everyday life, that going to see a counselor is just like bringing your car to the mechanic. It's all about getting your brain back on track, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've gone through counseling. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Half it was because of the concussions and the cognitive behavioral therapy, counseling that I was doing. But yeah, so make a long story short there, Mark, it started because of that. I wanted people to get out there and talk about their issues, and if they were willing to do it, great. And you know what? It's been a lot more people than I thought that were willing to talk about what was bothering them or what got them through that dark time. But yeah, to answer your question more specifically, I moved down here, and I didn't have a studio to do it in. I'm still waiting for the studio to be completed. But in the meantime, I'm just sitting here right at the kitchen table with my son being fed by my wife in the background, sort of thing. And and it's something I'm looking forward to getting started once again. I've been able to put out, like, I think you and I talked the other day, Mark. It was like, you gave me the suggestion of like, hey, just put something out. So I put like a 10-minute episode out this morning. But yeah, it's something that I'm looking forward to getting started back again. And I really can't wait, because it's one of the most enjoyable things that I do.
Yeah. So John, I got to add some things to what you were saying, man. So suicide thing, huge, right? A couple points I want to add. So one, you brought up the whole TBI and all that other stuff. And it was funny because I was talking to another buddy of mine today that conversation came up, and believe it or not, shortly after we're talking like within days, he started becoming suicidal. So I've always thought of it as, hey man, you get the rug pulled out from underneath you, or you got some demons in your closet. Now it got me second guessing to go, hey man, here's a dude that's perfectly fine one day, basically gets his head banged. Now he's suicidal a couple days later. So I'm sitting there going, hey, how much does TBI have to play in with this whole suicide plus demons and everything else? But you brought up a good point as far as, Jocko saying it's like taking your car to the mechanic. Here's my only word of caution on that, right? Is, again, I had another buddy of mine who was afraid to talk to somebody else because he's like, well, I'm not a therapist. Dude, you don't need to be a therapist. You need to be a friend. Yeah.
A therapist they're experts in the brain and how the brain works. You know what I mean? That's what their job is. That's what their profession is. I don't need to go talk to somebody who has done exactly what I've done. And same thing with the veterans and law enforcement out there. You don't need to go talk to somebody who understands it to a T. Yeah, it may help if they have a general understanding of where you're coming from, but they're experts in the brain and how the brain functions and how it works.
Right. But here's my point more, John, right? Just to clarify. So it was a buddy of mine was saying he couldn't engage with another friend of his because he wasn't a therapist. He didn't think he was qualified. Gotcha. Yeah. And that's my driving point is, hey man, if you've got a buddy struggling, don't sit there and go, man, I'm not a qualified mental health professional. No, dude, you're his friend, right?
Yeah.
Be a friend, because at that point, in my opinion, that's more important than that therapist, because you've got that relationship already established, right? If he's in that dark place and he's encroaching in that spot of no return, get involved, right?
Yes, exactly.
And I just think that's a key point, because if there's one, there's more than others out there that's in that same boat going, well, I don't feel qualified to talk to him. No, dude, they're your friend. Talk to him.
Yeah, and I had that same sort of, I don't want to say problem, but when my friend Chris committed suicide, he had sent me a message on Facebook back when I, was more active on Facebook and hadn't deactivated it for the past like 7 or 8 years. But when he had committed suicide, he sent me a message a couple weeks or a couple days prior to that, and I'm, I kick myself every day for not having replied to it. And it was one of those things. I'm at work. I don't have time right now. And I, still hold it to this day, obviously. And it's one of those things I'll just never be able to shake. But like you said, be that friend, be there for somebody. I didn't know he was going through I didn't know he was in a dark place at that time, and and there's nothing I can do about it now, unfortunately, but to help other people.
Sure. I don't want to prod John, but I just want to ask this. Was the message, was it just a kind of reach out? Was it a message of help, or was it more just a message of, hey man, just touching base?
The latter.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had a similar case, right? Although there wasn't a not reply. It was going back and forth with a buddy of mine, thinking that he had gotten out of the military. We're trying to get him set up for a job. And then a couple weeks later, another buddy of mine goes, hey man, you hear so-and-so killed himself? I'm like, what? And automatically I'm going through my text. I'm sitting there looking, going, where'd he throw the line? And it
where's
was
the red flag?
Exactly. And it was never there. So I know what you're saying, but we've got to be careful from the survivor side, if you want to say that when somebody does something like that, could you sit there and go, oh, what if I sent a message, or what if, right? I think the key part is take it as a teaching point. We kind of talked about this the other night with our patrons. Just reach out to your buddies, right?
Yep.
I mean, I got it. Life always gets in the way, but I'm going to tell you this, brother, you can't hold that over your head, because that's a burden you shouldn't have to bear. But I understand what you're saying. So
yeah, it's like you said, it's being there for people, and it doesn't need, just because you're not a certified therapist or a counselor, or however we want to term it, be there for your buddy. The Army, what's there be your battle. I hate I hate saying it, but
make it easy, buddy. Here's the easiest thing, right? Just check on your friends, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry about the battle, buddy. Don't worry about all these other things. Just check on your friends. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the podcast is hopefully getting started back up, and when it does, well, I'm gonna throw a shameless plug right now and just go to Pointman podcast on IG and slam that subscribe button as well.
Yeah, buddy. No,
yeah.
By all means. And then, are you on? What's your main platform that you're on? Are you on Apple, or what are your different platforms?
I'm on every platform. I should be on Spotify, Apple. I distribute it to Buzzsprout, and it goes from there.
There you go.
I'm very computer illiterate at 35. I want to step away from the computer as much as I can.
Join.
Yeah.
Join the club, brother. But
oh yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mark.
I was just going to say, not only that, you're looking to get into the video shows as well. And that's exciting. And, we're encouraging you to put it out right now. I think what you got going on with the Never Quit thing behind you, I would go ahead and start launching that stuff out, man. You sound like Mike Rowe with that voice.
Well, that's a good,
like from
good
Dirty
analogy.
Job.
I usually get lurched,
man.
But
yeah.
No, and you know what? It's the team Never Quit. Marcus Luttrell was a part of that, and and I learned something from him years ago, was that he's forced to talk about the worst day of his life 24/7 every day. He's got to talk about it, unfortunately, and that was one of the things that was able to take him out of that hole that he was in, that rut, that dark place. Was talking about it. It was more cathartic for him to talk about it. That he found out that, and so I thoroughly support what they had going on, and rocket behind me.
Yeah. That's a great point. What the conversation you guys were just having concerning, folks, not being able to recognize the warning signs, or just not, reaching out, and it just kind of hits you in the face. Happened to me too. We talked about it, like Rick said, on our Patreon group. It's important for that burden that everybody's naturally going to carry, like Rick said, you can't let that take you to a spot where you're in danger of going the wrong route. You know what I mean? I don't know about you guys, but the older I get, I'm starting to be much more aware of the negative things that folks do as part of the fellowship or the brotherhood of whatever, the military, the drinking and things like that. I think that sometimes a lot of guys go that route, not because they're just burying their head in a bottle, but it's part of what their social aspect is a lot of times. And then it's just an easy segue into it. I don't know. I'm nowhere near an expert on any of that stuff, but I just noticed that addiction to alcohol is a big piece of this. Are you seeing any of that in any statistics?
I haven't seen anything like that. I bet you that it is. I haven't honestly looked up anything to say, what rate of the alcoholism is, but I see a lot of guys that I have worked with that I don't know if they, I don't want to like, I don't know if they're trying to purposely drink their problems away. And
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what it is, that's
Yeah.
the thing that they think they're supposed to do. And I think, in my opinion, is that
Yeah.
someone's weaker for not going to go get help. The stronger person is the person that goes gets help.
But think about this, John, right? Here's my point to all that. Depending where you're at in life, depending where you're at for your job, right? People will say, go get help. But then when one dude gets help and he gets penalized or something happens to him, now that has a negative cascade across everything. The bottle's the easy fix, right? So the bottle's just not, it's just not a mental health deal. Okay. It's a pain deal, right? Oh, I can't sleep. So I'm going to suck down this whole bottle of brown water. And when I black out, I'm going to sleep, or so I think. Right. And then obviously when I wake up, I feel like a bag of ass. And what do? Repeat whole cycle because I've got my pain back. You probably didn't get good sleep. And then whatever demons you're dealing with. So it's just this big vicious cycle. And there has to be across the board, law enforcement, military, people can sit there and say, and I've watched it with my own eyes, right? Hey man, we'll support you if you need the help. And then that one dude that goes out there and gets it, now he's starting to get, hey dude, you're taking a little bit too long.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have to find somebody else to replace you? And you're like, whoa, dude, I thought we're getting ourselves straight.
The guys in the locker room start talking.
Exactly. And as soon as that's said, or he's like, hey dude, yeah, I gotta quit treatment and get back to what I'm doing. Now, nobody else is gonna go help that. So I'm gonna go basically self-medicate, for lack of better terms. So there just needs to be a slight shift in leadership approach. And if you're going to be a good leader, support your dudes. And if they need some help, go give them some help, man. Get them the help they need, and you'll get longevity out of them.
I know supervisors that didn't want to admit out in the open that they had gone to counseling, and I'm thinking to myself, why not? Why wouldn't you do that? I understand why. I do understand where they're coming from, but if you're in charge of guys, I mean, I think it opens the door for those people that are below you or under your leadership to go get that help, go seek it, and not swallow it away. Excuse me.
Yeah.
But
those stigmas are strong, though, man.
Yeah. Has the Army changed since when you enlisted there, Rick? Did it change from when you enlisted to when you left? Do you believe?
Not for the time frame for me, because the problem was they might have said they did. And guys, here comes the problem, right? Guys are still in the back of their head. Well, if I go seek help, they're going to go pull my clearance. Or if they go seek help, I'm going to get benched. Or, could they have gotten some? Yeah. How much could they have gotten? I don't know. Where the Army's at sitting today. The Army, the military's woke, right? I'm going to come straight out and say it. They're a bunch of freaking Sallies. So God forbid you go, hey guys, I feel offended. Shut your freaking mouth, right? So I don't know what they're doing nowadays. Probably that whole crew needs some freaking mental health from the top freaking down, because they're a bunch of bozos, in my opinion. Concept being hard as woodpecker lips, that's gone, right?
I can only speak from the reservist experience, but I agree. It's definitely, it has been that way. I'm in a medical unit, so it's a little bit different, but it definitely.
But it's not, John, right? Because the thing is, it's number one, if you really were to look at it across the board, all right, and let's just look at, from the infantry special operations side. these guys are getting their heads smashed 24/7,
Mm-hmm.
right? So part of mental health, yeah, I give you the mental health. Where's your cog rehab? What are they doing to ensure guys are keeping their neural pathways together from getting their brains smashed all the time?
Mm-hmm.
Because the problem comes in, I hate using the word or the acronym PTS, but PTS and TBI, signs and symptoms parallel, with the exception of the reoccurring nightmares. So is a guy getting mistreated because he's got some drama going on, but it's actually TBI, and some shrink's trying to fix them for PTS? So it's a broke system until that piece gets fixed, right? Until we can clearly delineate, are you dealing with a traumatic brain injury or some type of trauma in your life, or maybe both, But think about this. We want to have all these, shrinks and everything else. Cool. Where's our cog rehab guys? Ain't got a one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you specifically get diagnosed, and then you get, yes, like when I was active duty, I still, I had to go after my stint. I had a 6-week inpatient stay at the VA. My treatment afterwards was going to Intrepid Spirit and, dealing with a speech therapist who is your cognitive, that's a bad play on words anyways. It really is a speech therapist. There's nothing wrong with my speech, but they're the ones that's going to help you get your brain straight. How come we don't have more of those?
Yeah.
There's a concept for you, right?
Yeah, I agree. It is funny how there's only that one delineator between the two of TBI and PTS, and I like the fact that you're calling it PTS and not PTSD. It's just it's post-traumatic stress. You're gonna have
what's
stress.
the disorder? Yeah, what's the disorder?
Yeah, exactly. Disorder is being PTS is like being overweight, and the PTSD is like being obese so much you can't function. You know what I mean?
But I don't see the disorder, right? So if your brain's jacked up, right? So why don't we call it TBID? Where's the traumatic brain injury disorder? I'm just asking the question.
Yeah.
Right. Because some shrink, it was probably PTS back in the day, and they said, "Oh, let's make it PTSD." And look at me, I'm a smart dude.
Yeah.
But I don't know, brother. I like to refer to it, right? Here's my thing: combat grief. Take the whole PTS crap out of it, because everyone's grief they deal with is different, right? Is it self-inflicted, your own, from lost mates, pain to family, things you saw on the battlefield or on the job or whatever, right? Need to change some stigma to it, because if you're sitting there going, "Hey man, I got PTS. Well, what's the reoccurring effects? How does that affect your clearance? Oh, are you seeking mental health help? Yep. Oh, people think they're going to get their clearance pilled. It's like, hey, dude, I'm dealing with some crap. I just want to get straight. So I think it could be done, but it's just not being done in the right way. And then we need to educate dudes. Just be a friend and talk to your mates, man. Help them out when they need it. So
exactly. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot, Mark, but has it changed since when you I say enlisted, when you joined the PD to where it is today?
It has a little bit. It has a little bit, but still, I mean, just like in the Army, these guys are brutal. Guys and gals are brutal. They see something happen, someone get pinched, and instead of saying, "Oh man, that's sad, man, that person needs some help," it's ha ha ha. Here, I grabbed a video of it off the news. Check this out. You know what I mean? And they're savages sometimes, and they're not meaning to be. It may be because they're having issues and they're trying to kind of deflect. I don't know. But maybe it's just because I'm older and I have, Rick and I both have family members now, young people that are doing this job, and I'm just a little more aware of it. Maybe I don't think I care anymore. Maybe I'm just a little more aware because I'm not 100% focused on this job. And we've talked about this before too, John, with Rick and I. Can't recreate what you were doing before. You can't recreate that stuff. You got to recognize that your role changes, and you can't have nothing else going on. You can't have nothing else going on. They pull that away and you're done. You've aged out. You got to go. And it's a struggle for these folks. They associate so hard with it, and they've put their entire energy and life into it. at the neglect of everything else, including themselves and their families. And then all of a sudden it's gone. It's a tough transition if you're not able to start kind of pivoting, accepting other roles, leaving when it's time, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, it was. I definitely felt some of that, especially at the 12-year mark. It was, I kind of become the old grumpy guy, and I maybe I'm just giving myself that title, but that's how I felt, and I knew my time was coming to an end. And with regards to my career, it was maybe I was just seeing too much of the younger generation. In my area, we hired young, and it was, I don't know, it was just trying to mentor some of the younger people that knew everything. And
Sure.
I'm trying not to speak out of turn right now, but just trying to mentor the younger.
Speak freely, right? Because here's the thing: when we sugarcoat stuff, because let's be an honest broker, there's some great people in the younger generation. All right.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
There's a bunch from this absolutely brain dead, and it's all boiling around their phone. And these morons will believe anything that comes across that little device in their hand.
Oh yeah.
And they've got no thought process for themselves. So I mean, just call it like it is, John. Right? We're not a sugarcoating, politically correct podcast here. Speak your feelings, Now, granted, if you think it's going to affect Pointman, I don't want to jeopardize that. But
no, you're good.
I'll speak freely for me and the First Amendment. I'll say what I want. Bam.
I can almost guarantee you have a lot more listeners than I do, but so I don't want to. I'm not going to offend my 12 listeners. So
yeah.
But
no,
it was.
It's a good point though, John. Go ahead, buddy.
And what I was just going to say that, I at the 12-year mark, it was, I felt myself becoming that old guy. And I was still going to, counseling and talking to people and all that sort of stuff. But and trying to mentor some of the younger people to say that, hey, it is okay that so-and-so is taking time off of work because of everything they have going on in life. You don't know, you may know that person, that officer who's on a different shift. You may know a little bit about him. You don't know everything. You don't know everything about their life. He could be dealing with stuff. He or she could have been dealing with stuff from they were 7 or 8 years old that is just resurfaced because of whatever reason. You don't know what the reason is. You don't know what happened, and support that person and stop bad mouthing them in the locker room. And I had enough of that, and it was my time. And you know what? I would in my career now, I have. I don't know what they call it when you go back up other agencies, Mark, or not in your patrol area. We call it away games. It's like having an away game all the time. You go back them up. It's a lot less paperwork, and it's not your call. So my career now, it's like an away game, 24/7, because I do the EOD stuff for the dog, and it's pretty much about it. And there's a lot less stress. I go back to work and I do hear about some of the things that are going on, and I'm just like, yep. All right. Yeah. I knew it was my time.
So John, let me ask you this. What do you think about this, right? Here's a novel concept. So if I'm going to sit there and badmouth John in the locker room for whatever reason,
pick one. There's probably 1,000 out there.
Well, it doesn't matter, right? But just generality. If I'm going to sit there and badmouth you behind your back, I probably got some issues myself, right? Whether it's self-confidence or whatever, because I've got to put John down in order to boost myself up.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I look at all these people that want to backstab verbally and everything else. And, you don't want to talk to Mark. He's no good. No, John, he's that guy. He got that. Really? Why? Right?
Yeah.
If they're struggling, go help them. If you're truly, part of a team, go help your buddy out. I got it. If you guys don't get together, that's cool. I mean, there's been plenty of people in my life that, hey, we'll work together. We won't drink beers after work together, right?
Isn't that funny? You die for them,
sure,
being deployed, but you won't have a beer with them, sort of thing.
Nope.
It's a weird conundrum.
But it's not though, right? Because it's business. Nothing personal. It's just business, right? So at that point, hey man, this is just business. We need to mutually work together to survive whatever, potentially life-taking event we're dealing with. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean when work's done, hey dude, I'm not going to put some fake face on and go, hey man, you want to go get a beer? Now, if you're trying to bury the hatchet or fix that relationship, okay, maybe. But I've seen there's been some conflicts with people, right? I mean, not
Mhm.
everyone gets along well. And the prime example, hey man, so and so was basically backstabbing me behind my back. Screw you, dude. You know, you might sit there and go, hey, dude, what's your drama? Oh, nothing. Were you saying this? No. Okay, so I know you're a liar. But yeah, we'll do what we got to do. But I'm not going to go, build that relationship. Now, somebody else, yeah, absolutely. But it blows me away that we sit there and badmouth our own. For why? To make myself look better? Really?
Mhm.
Selfish.
We tear the law enforcement especially tears themselves apart.
Dude.
And I don't get it. I don't get it. You know what? You know how it is. You know how it is. Some guy gets that you're going to firearms training. And then six people say, well, that motherfucker can't shoot at all. Why is he going to firearms instructor school? Or whatever it is. It's stuff like that. And just, you know what? I got so sick and tired of it. I'd rather change my son's diapers than hear that bullshit.
But think about it, John, right? So my man, he's a bag of trash out on the road. We'll go put him as the firearms instructor, right? Get him off the road. It's like, what are you people thinking? The guy that's supposed to teach the life-saving skill that shouldn't be out on the road anyway. How about we just fire him? Right?
Yeah.
Here's a novel fact. Hey, dude, you're not performing, right? You've been just like the Army. You've been counseled. You've been given direction. You can't perform. Nothing personal. Have a nice day, right?
Yeah.
Boom. Run. If the military and law enforcement would be run like a business, right? Oh, there's a novel concept.
Yeah. Right.
Show me where's the books at. Oh, hey there, Johnny Law. You're 100 pounds overweight. You struggle to call every single time. I don't think you actually are. I think the range master's sitting there poking holes in your target, get you by, and you haven't done a single arrest all year.
Yeah.
What's up? Now, granted, he should have been caught up to that point and said something too and had some corrective action. But there comes a point you just got to go, hey, dude, nothing personal, just business.
Yeah.
You're fired.
It's just business.
Go somewhere else.
Talk about people. You can only mentor people so much and for so long. And there eventually comes a point where you need to.
Well, there's a key. Yeah, there's a key between mentoring and driving, right?
Right.
If I've got to drive a guy, dude, he ain't worth the drive. Mentor, dude. I will teach you, barring you're continuing to learn and change and adapt. But if I've got to sit there and push you behind your back, dude, you're not the guy I want.
Yeah.
I don't care what field you're in.
Yeah. And I was that type of cop where I didn't judge a lot of senior guys, a lot senior than I, judged people off of the amount of rest they made as if they were a good cop or not. And that just wasn't me. I was not that sort of person. And a lot of bad mouthing came off of that. Well, you only made 30 arrests this year. Yeah, but you know what, man? I may be 6'4", 6'5", 240 pounds. Like, I still love doing the community stuff. Like, I that's just me. You know what I mean? And I'm not bagging DUIs as much as I was when I first started. But dude, I have 10 more years than you do. So stop talking shit. But
yeah.
I
want to pivot a little bit and go into what you're doing now and what you're going to do next. But first, Rick,
you know what time it is.
We know what time it is. We got to bring up manscaped.com. They show a lot of support for the OTR universe, and they help make this happen, bring guests like John on. So our friends at Manscaped are helping to keep your driveway safe and clean during these winter's conditions to make sure that you do not have another silent night in the bedroom. So make sure you go to manscaped.com, use the promo code OTR20, save yourself 20%. That's a boatload of cash, Rick. Yeah, and make sure that you get that free shipping. Take advantage of it. There's no reason why you should be paying retail. We like to say retail is for suckers.
Yep.
Here first, friends. They got the platinum package. Now, Rick and I, full disclosure, we got sent the lawnmower 4.0, the weed whacker, and the shed bag. And we also got some other products that we use in the shower.
Yep.
I'm sold, bro. I'm sold.
Dude.
I've never smelled so good. I'm sold.
Dude, I got to kick mama off, man, right? She's like, oh, I said, woman, back off. I got to go podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah. So, ladies, do yourself a favor and buy this for your man this holiday season. And if you haven't experienced the 4.0 lawnmower, you're missing out, guys. So make sure, again, you go to manscaped.com, use the promo code OTR20, save yourself 20% and get free shipping.
Man.
All right, buddy. That was pretty fun.
I thought you were going to start singing "Oh Silent Night." Oh, silent night.
John's on it.
Yeah.
Keep going, buddy.
We don't have, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can do.
Oh,
I forget
yeah.
the words.
So it's great to kind of talk about those things, and it's a lot to process for someone who doesn't recognize that this is happening to them or to someone that they care about, and and just having the tools and stuff. But there's things you can do, and we talked about that. But anyway, you brought up that now what you're doing is you're still doing the reserve stuff for police. You're still doing the reserve stuff. Thank you for your service, by the way, for the armed forces, the Army. And then also you're doing something actively now with an EOD dog, correct?
Yeah. So
let's talk about that a little bit.
So I got hired by a security contracting company, and I have a 3-year-old golden lab named Freddie. And you know what? It's weird, however you're feeling that day, that dog feels. And so if you're if you're off that day, and the dog will shut right down. And I've had plenty of those days where I'm trying to do work and searching. We search a lot of cargo stuff in our area. And I'm trying to dude, come on, man. This is we got to get this done. He's sitting there looking at me just like, man, we're off. I don't know what's going on with you, but we're off today. But it's been quite the learning curve and journey working with him. It's a lot of fun. It can be, it's like walking around with a toddler all day long sometimes, especially with the golden lab. But it's quite fun. I wouldn't change it. He's a great dog, and I think he's passed out on the couch right now.
Nice. So he's a take-home dog, even better.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's a mama's boy home. He listens to her more than he does me sometimes.
Yeah. See, I didn't have that privilege till I retired Duco. Right. So obviously the military, you got to keep him at the kennel there. On occasion he'd make a jailbreak. Obviously when we get him gastropexied, we had that done during actually Christmas break, just because, hey, I knew we weren't doing a whole bunch of stuff, but it was that constant supervision. So unless there was something medical that needed that constant supervision, they stayed at the kennel until they got retired. But yeah, so good for you that you can bring him home, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's we work a lot. He works a lot, and the company does a good job to make sure that they get their due amount of rest between shifts and all that sort of stuff. But it's like walking around with a toddler some days all the time.
Dude.
But he's thinking.
But tell me,
my wife
it's not rewarding.
He's thinking, oh yeah, it is. He's thinking, oh, look at this. I told you where the bomb is, El Stupido. That's what my wife would say. Like when I pull him off of where the training it was at that point in time. But it is definitely rewarding.
So you bring up. Go ahead, John.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say that he's hand fed. So he's every single day we have to hide. He has 9 different odors that he has to maintain his certification on. So he is hand fed. He doesn't eat out of a bowl. I've put food. I had a little bit left over to give to him because we were done at the end of the day, and I put it in a small bowl in front of him. He just sat and stared at it like, what the hell is this? Yeah. But no, he eats on order all day, every day.
So he's food reward.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Okay.
So,
but you brought up a great point, right? And I think for any of my other canine handlers out there, there's a common theme, and depending on how long you've been doing this business, you'll figure it out probably sooner rather than later, right? But trust your dog.
Oh yeah. Yep.
There's too many times where guys go, he's wrong. No, dude.
No,
if you can read your dog, he will tell you exactly what's going on. And man, that guy is right. I mean, he's just trying to find that odor, whatever it is he's looking to do, whatever that task may be. And we're the ones that mess that equation up. You start putting that human, oh no, it couldn't be there.
Yeah, they are the smart ones on the end of that whole leash.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, you're right. It's been rewarding. I've been able to talk to a lot of guys that were handlers overseas for Marine Corps or whatever, and it's been rewarding. Just hearing stories and just opening up that whole new level at 12 years. I still consider it some sort of law enforcement.
Sure.
I do work hand in hand with them because we have 6 dogs at every Pats game, and so
Sure. Yeah.
we get to work hand in hand a lot with law enforcement. But like you said, you're all right. Trust your dog. He's going to bring you to where he wants to go because chances are he wants to eat, and he knows if he finds it and gets there, he's going to get rewarded for it.
Yep.
But no, he's a good dog. I was wanting a German Shepherd at one point in time, or a Mal, but I'll take him. I take one of him in every single color.
Here's the thing. When you're looking at just a straight detection, why do you want the Mal, right? Why do you want to potentially, come home and, hey man, what happened to my couch? Bye. Yeah. And you just sit there going, "No, Dad." That's people don't get it, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't want this opening in my drywall, and they're sitting there going, "Hey, what happened to the drywall?"
The kid. It was the kid. Yeah. The kid did.
I'll blame it on the 4-month-old.
Yeah, the dog was like, yeah, but no, I there's nothing wrong with that. I totally get what you're getting with what you're saying, right? You want that Mal, you want that Shepherd. But dude, for what you're doing, I think you're perfect with the lab, man. No issues, no dramas, no sidebar stuff.
Did you ever work with a lab? No. Okay.
It was either Malleys or Dutchies. So
okay.
Yeah.
All toy reward, I assume.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And all dual purpose. So they'll bite as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yep. Nice. Yeah. No. So that's what I'm doing now. It was a good transition. I had worked for my father-in-law doing construction right after the move. I worked with him for I call it like 7 months, and I just found out that you know what, I'm also the dumb one at the end of that hammer too. It's I can't build anything. So
well, it's all time, John. Right? It's kind of like working the dog. You're not grabbing the leash day one and reading everything and going, hey man, But hey, here's a sidebar question I got for you, just since we're on the dog thing. So when we would food reward certain things, right? Would basically food dep them to make them work, and then hey, when they got this little piece of kibble, it drives them that much more because it's like, oh, I want another piece of morsel. Like, how much are you? What's a food reward for him? Like, is he getting a handful in your hand?
He's getting. In case any of my instructors still listen to me talk on my podcast, he gets a couple pieces of kibble with every every odor that he finds.
Okay.
So, and then he gets right now he's at about 3.5 cups, and so you gotta make it sparingly. You shouldn't really, honestly, as you're well aware, but for people working in any of that in that sector, shouldn't hide one training aid and dump food down his gullet. But
no,
it can't.
Yeah, we never, and that's why I asked, because we never had it where yes, we would food dep them to get them to work, because now, hey, versus using a toy reward, we're going to give you a food reward for something. So now you're trying to get that. It's just a different way to change up their behavior. So now I could make this little piece of kibble. Ooh, man, this thing's the money because I want to eat. Or you mess with Bill Jack at all?
No.
Oh, dude, get you some Bill Jack. See if the company will get some Bill Jack. Now, granted, you got to refrigerate it. Crack cocaine into them dogs.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You can roll it up into like a small little meatball size. Dude, they will lose their mind. It's like, I'll work even harder for that yumminess. It's like, kibble? Rubbish. Give me some of that Bill Jack.
All right.
So,
all right.
Yeah. Just try that just try that as a variable, man. And just see if you don't, just try it out. Do I get better drive out of them just from the Bill Jack? And you kind of, the deal, man, the whole variable reward, a little Bill Jack today, little kibble there. He doesn't know.
Change it up on him.
That's it, man.
It's funny. Yeah. The whole change they talked about in class when I went through, and it was, I couldn't get him to work for the first couple of days, when I had him after, got our certifications, got out of training back out on the street, for sake of argument. And I couldn't get him to work because new environment for him. So
Mhm.
never mind just being released. Now he's in a whole new environment from where he was in the kennel.
Mhm.
And now he has to go to where he's working and figure out, hey, I can find things here. It's not going to be a blank every single time because he has to, know that he's going to eat there. So for
Mhm.
sake of argument, I have to put the training aids out. And if I go into this building, I know, hey, I can find something. I just lost my train of thought, but yeah, it's completely blanked on that train of thought. But yeah, it's oh, sorry. Yeah, getting back to it, they said, literally do everything that you would normally do. Pull up, like, because they were all former cops or retired law
Mhm.
enforcement. When they had an issue where a dog wouldn't work for whatever reason, do everything that you would normally do. Turn around, leave the scene, come back, pull up like you normally would, go out, pretend you're getting your training aid out from the back of the car, go walk up to the car that you're going to be searching with no training aid, obviously, but the dog
Mhm.
thinks you have one at this point in time, then come back and get him. Now he thinks there's something out there. He's going to work. And it's the same sort of thing for where I work. And, I've had to do that more often than not. Like I'll take what's that plastic box, the foam inside of it. I can't think right now. That hard case box. I'll take that out and show it like, well, hey, I'm bringing it out to where you're going to be searching. Haven't hit
Mhm.
anything yet, and yeah,
So,
it's quite the learning curve.
so can I give you a suggestion,
Go right ahead. I'm open for
Dude-
anything.
dude? All right. So, do you have anybody that helps you?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what you do: have them put the aid out. Right. So let's use a
Mhm.
vehicle for example. Um, Again, obviously, figure out where your downwind side is.
Mhm.
So now, basically, park the vehicle on the downwind side. Get him out. He's like, "Well, Dad didn't go put the aid." And let him just kind of sit there. He won't want to work in that case, but if he starts catching odor, you'll see that,
Oh yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
what's that? And let's move to source. And then at that point, we start doing that enough. It should be, hey, dude, I grab you, whatever your search command is, and we start, start going to business. So
Yeah.
there's ways you can trick these guys. Sometimes it's harder than others, especially if you don't have a buddy to help you out. But if you've got somebody that can help you, or if you don't have a secure site where you can actually put your odor out and know it's not going to sit there and walk away or drive away or wherever it is you guys are doing your
It's
training
happened
at.
before. Not to me.
Oh,
Not to me, but it's happened before.
dude, I'll be an honest broker. It's happened to us, right? So you put an aid out, and granted, we're in a secure place, but it's on somebody else's vehicle. You step away for 2 seconds, turn around, and go, hey man, where'd that truck go?
Yeah. Yeah. Where'd that C4 just fly off to? I don't know.
Well, we had some nice we had some nice magnetic boxes that would, especially for vehicles, would
Yeah,
hold
the Ray
on.
Allen boxes.
Yep. Those things are pretty bomb proof. And trust me, it would go driving down the road. And next thing you know, there's a truck sitting out at the range. And we're like, hey, dude, you just stole my training aid, man. Come here. My bad.
Yeah.
Didn't know it was there.
Yeah.
No kidding. But no.
So
Yeah,
anyway,
so-
John, it was great having you on, but I wanted to let everybody know what you're going to be doing next. I know you mentioned the business and are you specifically talking about the podcast, or do you have other things going on? And then I know Rick likes to ask a question from all of our former or transitioned military LE guys a question, but what do you got going on next?
So I have been out of work on paternity leave for the birth of my son.
Congratulations.
And thank you very much. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
buddy.
And like we were talking, prior to this, I think it was written down somewhere, probably on stone from the cavemen, that said, "Hey, when you have your first child, don't start a business and learn how to be a father and a husband with the child all at the same time." Well, I tend to learn the hard way
Mhm.
with my life, but yeah. So I started my own. I'm a medic in the Army. I've been an EMT since 2008, and it's a pretty much a passion of mine. I've been a medic on our SWAT team, and I love doing that. I've trained it for free. I've done it numerous times, and you know what? I'm sick and tired of doing things for free. So I started my business, Pointman Defensive Solutions, and another shameless plug.
No,
You
nothing
can
shameless,
follow
man.
us. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and go to pointmandefensivesolutions.com. And yeah, I started that. The getting into the whole medic atmosphere real quick. TCCC was developed throughout the wars in the Middle East. And then there was no, with civilian EMS, there's a whole bunch of bureaucratic red tape, and people were trying to bring back TCCC to civilian EMS and law enforcement. And eventually TECC, Tactical Emergency Casualty Care, was developed. And I became an instructor in that. And yeah, we were going to be doing classes with law enforcement, fire, EMS. We're going to be partnering with, you'll like this, Rick. We're going to be partnering with veterinarians in our area to teach canine TECC, because in Massachusetts, I will give this to them, and it's a good. It actually just happened last night because a trooper was hit while doing a trooper with a canine was hit while doing with a road detail. Actually, in the town of Yarmouth, Sean Gannon passed away in 2018, and in 2018 he passed away, and his dog Nero was shot, and that was right down. I live in the town where he passed, and so they developed. Actually, it's called Nero's Law in the state of Massachusetts. Nero ended up surviving. But they just implemented that in the state of Massachusetts. Civilian EMS can now transport canines that are injured in the line of duty, which is why would you need it? Why would you need? I can already tell, Rick. I can already tell. Why would you need a law saying that? But
well, here's a better one, brother. Right, and thank God for the state of Massachusetts for that one. Right. So if you're listening other places, because I'm here to tell you this, you have now. I'm going to give you my world, or at least the world I used to live in, and then I'm going to transfer over it into here in the United States of America, right?
Yeah.
So when we were out, if my dog got wounded, we're calling in a medevac aircraft, right? God knows how many millions of dollars it is to bring him, exfil him from the battlefield. He's not going to a vet. No. He's going to a cache that's, a hospital for humans, and a human surgeon is going to go save his life. Now, granted, we would forward deploy some specific med items for the dog because, again, their anatomy, physiology is not, it's similar to ours, but not quite the same. So some ET tubes and other things need to be a little bit longer. They may not have. Not a big deal. Make sure those guys have that stuff. But here's what blows me away. This day and age, in this here United States of America, we have states, we have jurisdictions, we have towns. I've had officers tell me, they will not accept canine officers. Let me say that again. They will not accept canine officers into their ER. You know what? Here's what I would tell them. Hey, dude, you ever get an active shooter? We're not responding. Good luck to you. Right?
Yeah, that's absolutely absurd.
Same thing. EMS will not transport a wounded canine officer. Hey, check it out, guys. Next time the scene's not secure, best of luck to you. That's what I'd tell him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He is part of that team. And
he's just as much as an officer as you are.
You're damn right he is. And he's probably saved more lives, right, than most of these other cats out there. Now, good for the state of Massachusetts for putting into law, but shame on the rest of you savages for even refusing their care. And I told them all straight up, dude, I would go straight to that medical director of that hospital, go, hey, dude, check it out. We ain't getting nothing from here. And I would do everything publicly possible to just sit there and go, I'm done with you guys, and let everyone know that they don't support the police.
Yeah, I would be arguing if I disagreed with you. It's a shame that had to come to a law. I don't know what the circumstances that were behind that becoming a law, but I know that it's been implemented twice in the state since it became in effect. And you know what? And now that it has, will we be, like I said, partnering with vets and veterinarians to bring some basic medical skills to canine handlers. Anybody who wants to learn anything about their animal, we'll teach you.
And that's cool for the vets, but here, check it out. Trauma's trauma, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, trauma's trauma. You got to understand how many amputations of canine limbs do you see? Not a whole bunch out there. You might need a specific type of tourniquet to work with that, because regular, cat isn't going to stay on there, but you use something like a SWAT tee or something like that. That will
something that conforms to their body.
Yep. Hey man, plug holes. I mean, it's basic life-saving skills. Granted, you might want to know a little bit of anatomy, physiology if you got to do a needle decompress or something like that. But at the end of the day, if you've got some human, first aid skills, you just got your little furry beast there, man. You might have some issues with some things, but it's not rocket science, man. It's not.
Yeah. And in this area, there was a couple shark attacks on the Cape Cod now where I live, and so they had started implementing. I call my training beachside trauma or whatever you want to call it. I really don't care what it's called as long as people get the actual training. But they had implemented, these severe bleeding kits at the beaches. And how many people actually know how to use that sort of stuff? Probably. I hope there's got a lot more people than I'm thinking, but I bet you it's not that many.
Dude,
and you don't want that to be that first time when you're bleeding out for whatever reason. Whether you got hit by a boat prop or you get bit by a shark, whatever it is, you don't want that to be the time when when someone's actually learning how to use the equipment. So,
no, and you bring up a great point. And me and Mark have seen it in our classes where, these officers have tourniquets still in the plastic. And I sit there and go, "Are you even trained?" But I got to say this, John, and then I'm gonna pass it over to Mark. But I can tell you why Narrow's Law got passed. Because I've talked to officers in the past that have been refused care, right? And that's why
probably exactly what happened.
And I guarantee what ended up happening, if you really look at Nero's Law, there was probably a canine officer, and worse yet, he probably lost his partner, right? And he probably got somebody involved going, "Hey, these savages," and it might have been named after Nero for whatever reason, but these guys refused freaking treatment. Would be my bet. And again, I would just say this. If you are a healthcare professional that runs a hospital, does whatever, or rides EMS, and you will not put a wounded canine officer either in your ER or in your ambulance, quit.
Yeah.
Because we don't want you. Beat it.
They're just as much of an officer as a
You're
human.
damn right. You're damn right they are.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Whew, get me all fired up, man.
Yeah, man. Get all excited.
Dogs, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. One last thing, we always like to run this by, our veterans and just to kind of thank them, but also get their 2 cents to see if they can help some other folks. And basically, if you were to give one piece of advice, John, to someone who's about to leave or just left the armed services, uniformed services, police officer, what would that be?
If they're just leaving, if they're like walking out the door sort of thing,
or getting ready to leave,
somewhere in that process,
whatever.
John. So
start thinking about how you can transition your skills to the civilian side. Number one, I assume that's been said, but don't live life in the rearview mirror, and that's something that we all tend to struggle. I did when I left law enforcement. Man, it was very tough on me. Don't live life in the rearview mirror. You can learn from your experiences, and you have to learn from your experiences, but you have to take those teachings and how you're going to apply them to life moving forward. We all know guys, and we all have seen guys, whether they were in the military and law enforcement, that did 25, 30 years, that they just can't get out of their own way now. And it's because they're just still stuck on the deployments from 15, 17 years ago, the calls from 20 years ago, whatever it is. Don't live life in the rearview mirror and use those skills that you have. I mean, law enforcement, we're great salesmen. Salesmen, saleswomen, we are. I get people to say thank you. I have to give them $450 speeding tickets. And in the military, it's taken advantage of every single opportunity that the military has afforded us. I mean, you can go to school in the military, you can do a lot of different things, a lot of doors that get open from that, and just take advantage of it all.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, you're an inspiration, buddy. All the things
I've become a lot of things, and inspiration has never been one of them.
You really are. You really are, pal, because of all the outreach you're doing, all the training that you're starting. It's all geared to helping these men and women who have already a tough job. And we really appreciate you coming on the show. And thank you for your service and your continued service, man. Really appreciate you coming on, buddy.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I listen to you guys all the time, and we've been trying to get this set up, and it's been wonderful. Hope we can do another one sometime in the future.
Oh,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Buddy. Yeah, man.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks,
All right,
buddy.
thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right. Hang on, John. Don't go anywhere. All right, Rick. Man, what a great guy. Great show.
Dude.
All of his outreach with Pointman. Oh,
yeah. Fantastic show. I mean, let's think about it. We've kind of run a little common theme here last little bit, right? Talking about suicide because it's out there, it's happening.
Yeah.
Check on your buddies, right? And then how about that advice? Don't live in the rearview mirror. Hey man, you got that book. You got that book of life. Crack open that new chapter and start fresh, man. Don't let that job define you. Don't let your past be who you are. Be yourself, man, and crush life. So yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
And then we talk dogs. Whew, that's always going to get me fired up. So
yeah,
great show, brother.
Stuff, man.
Yeah, great show.
So hey, Rick, you have a very merry Christmas.
You have a merrier Christmas, buddy.
All you out there, thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. We're grateful. We're thankful. Go out there, be 1% better every day, and enjoy the holidays. Be safe. Be safe.
Yeah,
if you're having any trouble, struggling, reach out. Reach out to somebody.
988. If you guys are ever in trouble, National Suicide Hotline number 988. Reach out.
Yeah, buddy.
Get you guys some help. But no, man. Merry Christmas, everybody. God bless you. And we'll see you in the next episode.
See you, pal.
All right, buddy. Take care.